Hello, my name is Candi Maciel, and I am the Manager of Corporate Engagement for Best Friends Animal Society. Today I'm going to teach you a little bit about workplace giving and how you can raise money through companies and their employees. The topics that we're going to cover today: what is workplace giving, what are the types of giving, how to monetize volunteering, and how to do all of this. First and foremost, what is workplace giving? I realize that this might be a foreign term to most of you, but it's an important term that you come to know because it's estimated that over $5 billion are given to charities every year through workplace giving. In fact, a Cone Communications study said that 74% of employees believe that their job is more fulfilling when they're provided opportunities to make a positive impact on social and environmental issues. And companies are paying attention to this. They're seeing that it's important to provide outlets for their employees to give, and to retain those employees, they're starting to do this. Now, in a competitive job market where there's many jobs available to people, they're looking to work for a company that supports their passion just as much as provides them an outlet for a good job. There's many types of giving that are part of workplace. I'm going to highlight them here, and then we'll kind of get into depth on each of these. First and foremost, public campaigns and private campaigns, which are very similar yet very different. There's matching gifts, something that you might already be semi-familiar with. Volunteerism, and this happens through payroll deduction, annual giving, gift confirmation, and employee grants. So let's dive into each of these. First, let's talk about the difference between public and private campaigns. Public campaigns are workplace giving or employee giving campaigns that are made for public employees. These can be things like the combined federal campaign or public campaigns, local state campaigns, and even the United Way. For those of you that are smaller organizations that are located in one specific area, you probably will never participate in the combined federal campaign. However, public campaigns are still an option for you to raise money. Private campaigns are similar, but they're hosted by private companies. Examples of these would be Google, Disney, any other private company, Joe's Coffee Shop, and they have different types within private campaigns. So private campaigns have the option to have open and closed campaigns, meaning if the campaign is open for employees, they can donate to any nonprofit organization that they choose just by writing their name in. If it's a closed campaign, the employer selects a certain number of charities to be included, and the employee must select from those. Next, let's talk about matching gifts. Many employers match employee donations, and often a lot of employees don't need this. See that picture on the right? That's money on the table, and that's exactly what matching gifts are. Your donors, your volunteers, they're giving you money, and there's a potential that there's a matching donation out there that you're not collecting right now, and that's money left on the table. So let's talk a little bit more about this and how you can do it. So with employers matching donations, it really varies from company to company. There's different match ratios, and there's different minimums and maximums. There's a little snippet on the right that I included about Walt Disney Corporation matching gifts, so that you can see how easy it is to look up this information. So Walt Disney offers a match ratio of 1-to-1, meaning for every dollar donated, they match it with $1. The minimum amount that has to be donated for them to match is $25. So if your donor works at Walt Disney and gives you $25, Disney will give you an additional $25. They match up to $15,000 annually per employee, and that's a lot of money. Also, they give volunteer grants up to $2,000. Not only are current employees eligible for this, but sometimes they even match donations made by spouses and retirees as well. Definitely something to look into. This does require work from the donor though, so you'll need to be aware of that when you're going into matching gifts. And how can you do this? It's really about marketing. With 65% of Fortune 500 companies offering matching gifts, there's a lot of money out there to be claimed. What you need to know is that you need to be prepared to ask your donors, your volunteers, the people that are giving you money, who they work for, and can they check and see if they're eligible for a matching gift. Even though it takes a little work from these donors, most of them are really interested in helping because this is free money not coming from their pocket that's going to go to your organization, and they want to do every bit to help. Next up is volunteerism. This is really hot right now. Companies are encouraging and incentivizing employees to volunteer. They offer paid days off. Sometimes they'll offer an entire week off per year for their employees to go and volunteer at a nonprofit they care about. They might even pay money. They might provide a grant for supplies. So if you need a specific project done around your adoption center, your rescue, your shelter, they might pay for it. They also offer dollars for doers. We'll talk a little bit more about this, but that's basically money for every hour a volunteer volunteers with you. They offer employee grants where employees can nominate charities and get bigger amounts of money for you. And sometimes companies even offer milestone gifts, meaning if an employee works for them for 10 years, they might donate $10,000 to the charity of choice for that volunteer. And you definitely want to be the one they pick. So how does all this money come in? Well, there's different avenues. First is payroll deduction, and this is probably the most popular opportunity. This is can either be through a public campaign or a private campaign, but it gives the employees an opportunity to give by giving a portion of their paycheck, every paycheck to you. The employees choose who the money is going to go to. So again, in an open or closed campaign, they might have 5 charities to choose from, or they might be able to select anybody and write your name in. This is really effortless giving. Once a year, they put down how much per paycheck they would like to donate, and then that's automatically deducted throughout the year and sent to you. So this is year-round money coming to you. As long as that employee stays employed with that employer, you're guaranteed to get that money throughout the year, which is pretty exciting. So how can you do this? Well, I'd recommend you talk to your volunteers. Find out who they work for. Find out if their employer has an option for payroll deduction for employee giving, and see if they're willing to donate to you. You can also talk to local companies and find out if they offer a program like this, and see if your organization can be added to their list of approved charities, or if they're willing to host some of your marketing collateral to their employees so that they can get more familiar with you. And lastly, marketing. Again, this is always going to be the biggest piece. Anywhere that you can include information about this, that's what you want to do. And when we get to the end of the presentation, I'll show you some samples marketing that we, Best Friends Animal Society, do to help donors know more about employee giving and how to select Best Friends as their option. There's also annual giving campaigns. So a little different than payroll deduction, this is a one-time specific time period that employees are giving. So an example of this could be Joe's Coffee has an annual donation drive where they're looking to raise $10,000 from their employees, and they have a day where everybody can just give money either through a one-time deduction from their paycheck or a credit card or cash or check, and then that money goes to charity. So different companies do these types of drives very different. Annual giving is also similar to the public campaigns and the combined federal campaign we talked about earlier. They do a big drive towards the end of the year. Year-end giving obviously is huge, and employee giving falls right along with that. So they might offer organizations to come into their office and set up a table and tell their employees about what they do and see if their employees are willing to donate right there on the spot to them. Many times they set a goal and they promote that to employees about how much they want to raise. It's very exciting for them to try to reach that goal. So how can you get involved in this? Very similar. Talk to your volunteers and donors, find out who they work for, and see if they have a campaign like this that you can participate in. Also, look into your local United Way. They help rally local public campaigns and sometimes some private companies as well. And they handle all of these types of donation drives and then distribute funding to smaller organizations like yours. This does and will require work internally from you, though. Sometimes there's an application. Sometimes you're going to need to go and table and provide marketing collateral, maybe send a volunteer to talk about your organization. So be prepared that you're not just going to be able to sign up for something and get money without having to do a little bit of work on your end. But I promise it's worth it. Let's talk about monetizing volunteers, because I'm sure that ever since I mentioned that at the beginning, your head has been spinning thinking, what is she talking about? How can we get money from volunteers? First, let's focus on individuals. Like I've mentioned a couple of slides back, there's a lot of employers that will incentivize their employees to volunteer. And sometimes they'll even donate on behalf of an employee volunteering. How does this work, you ask? Well, it can go by many names. The most popular that I hear is dollars for doers. And that means for every hour that this employee volunteers for you, that employer is going to donate. One of our favorite, Apple, donates $25 per hour for every volunteer that volunteers for your organization. That's a lot of money. On the right, you'll see a little chart that explains how this process works. So these individual grants by the employer can either go by the hour or milestones achieved. Sometimes they're cash and sometimes they're in kind. We've received free plane tickets and more from companies that give on behalf of their employees and their volunteer milestones. So according to that little chart on the right, first step is the volunteer from that employer volunteers with you. Second, the nonprofit is going to tell the volunteer about the corporate volunteer grant eligibility. Maybe you don't know the specific details, but what you can say is, hey, volunteer, your employer might give money on behalf of your volunteering. Have you ever looked into this before? Next, the volunteer is going to submit that request to their employer. The nonprofit is going to validate that volunteerism. A lot of times the employer will email you and say, hey, did Joe Smith come volunteer 5 hours with you last week? And you're going to click and say, yes, he did. Next, the nonprofit's going to receive that grant. It might be in the form of a check right then on the spot. It might be quarterly or it might be yearly. You might get a big grant from them. Free money just for having somebody come and volunteer with you. Always really exciting. So how can you capitalize on this? Definitely market to your volunteers. At our organization, we include this in our volunteer orientation to encourage our volunteers to talk to their companies and find out if this is something that they offer. This is also going to require a little work internally because you're going to have to be able to communicate with those companies and verify that volunteerism in order to receive that money. Lastly, promote, promote, promote. I know I already said this, but this is the big piece to monetizing volunteerism, is that you want to promote to your volunteers every ability, every time that you can. So through your volunteer orientations, through emails to your volunteers, through casual conversation, remind them. Because even if their company doesn't currently offer this, maybe they're interested in starting this up, and maybe that volunteer can sort of spearhead that on behalf of your organization. Next, let's talk about monetizing volunteers from a corporate angle. So really right now, it's very popular for companies to want to bring teams to volunteer. They want to do a day of service. They want to do a team building activity. They want to bring 10 or 50 people out to volunteer. And of course, everybody loves animals. Everybody's going to want to volunteer with you. So how can you capitalize on this? This is a huge opportunity in 2018 and beyond. What Best Friends has started doing is we request or sometimes even require a donation for them to come and volunteer with us. This could be in the form of supplies or cash. So let's say Joe's Coffee Shop wants to bring 10 volunteers out to the center to walk dogs and socialize cats. Depending on the company and what we feel that their giving capacity is, and depending on our needs at the center at that time, we'll require a donation from them in order to host that group. And basically, we just let them know that we really appreciate their request and would appreciate their help around the center. However, we're going to have to dedicate a staff person in order to do the volunteer event. And we want to make sure that it's really beneficial for them and really beneficial for us. And so on that front, you know, we would love for them to make a donation of $500 to bring their team of 10 people out to volunteer with us. If cash is an issue for them, we send them our wish list and say, hey, would you be willing to shoot this out to your employees and see if they can provide supplies and bring them day of? Or if we have a project that we really need help with, say we need help with landscaping the front of our adoption center, we'll suggest that to them as well. Maybe they can purchase some mulch and some shovels and some plants, and that could be their donation because it's a win-win for all of us. They get to have a team building opportunity and we get the help that we desperately need. So how can you implement this? First and foremost, if this is something you're interested in, it's going to require you to change the way you respond to corporate volunteer inquiries. Instead of just saying yes to everybody, you might want to be a little more picky and choosy, and you might also want to start requesting or even requiring a donation. Second, if you'd like, you can advertise this. Some companies are looking for opportunities to bring their employees to volunteer, and maybe by you advertising, hey, we have these opportunities, they might be interested in picking your organization. And lastly, again, this is going to require work internally on your part. You're going to have to coordinate the communication, coordinate the team, and lastly, coordinate the donation. But again, there's definitely money available here for you and your organization, as well as some volunteer help. So it's absolutely worth it. How to get started. How are you going to do all of this? I realize I've thrown a ton of information at you, but I want to try to make it as easy as possible for you to get the money that is sitting on the table. So first, talk to your donors and volunteers. Find out where they work and what their companies offer. If there's not currently an opportunity there, see if those volunteers are willing to champion a program like this at their employer for you. Second, there's a million websites available for you to register on and start getting matched up with companies. The logos on the right-hand side are just a small sample of those where you can register your organization for free, create an account, even create volunteer opportunities. And then companies that have the ability to give their employees access to these websites to donate, you'll be listed as one of the charity options for them to select. So free money. Include all of this in your marketing. Definitely talk about matching gifts. Talk about company opportunities to volunteer. The more opportunities you're giving them, the variety, the more likely you're going to find some good matchups and relationships. And then lastly, develop a long-term strategy. See where you want to take this. This is potentially a lot of money for your organization. Can you dedicate a staff person or a volunteer to spearhead this program to help see that you maximize your revenue potential? Lastly, I'm going to show you some sample marketing, ways that Best Friends promotes these so you have a good idea of where to get started. First and foremost, we have an entire section of our website dedicated to workplace giving. You can visit it yourself and see what we're talking about. It talks about workplace giving and the opportunity for people to donate to us. We are members of the Combined Federal Campaign because we are a national organization and we include our information there. We also ask them to check with their employers and find out what the opportunities are. Another opportunity is to host a matching gift search function on your website. This is a sample from the Best Friends Animal Society website under the Workplace Giving page, where we enable people to search for their employer. Now, this search box is paid for by us and hosted by HEP Data. It's not very expensive, so if you're able to do something like this, it's definitely worth it. However, if you can't afford to host a search box directly on your website, that's okay. There's other ways that you can search employers to find out about matching gifts. You can even put them into Google, for example, and you might be able to pull up the information that way. You can come to the Best Friends website and search in our search box and pull it up that way as well. Just remember that it's taking extra steps for your donor to do that. So as easy as you can make it for them to check for a matching gift, the better. Until you have an opportunity to include something like this, maybe you just ask on your donation form where they work and you do the work on the back end and reach back out to your donor and say, hey, I saw that you work for Joe's Coffee. Did you know that your gift is match eligible? Can you check with your Human Resources Department to secure that gift for us? 9 times out of 10, your donor is going to do the extra work to secure that donation for you because it's free money for you and they want to do everything they can to support you. You can also include information in your appeals. We do a lot of direct mail and emails, and we find it is the most beneficial to include it in a PS at the very bottom. So here's a sample from ours. Hey, PS, many employers offer matching gifts programs. Click here to check out if your employer will match your gift, or visit our website to check and see it go twice as far. Donors love to see language like that that shows that their donation is being doubled, tripled, etc. Again, it's them helping you without more money coming out of their pocket, and they're always in for that. You can also include language on your landing pages and your emails. So say you have a donation form online, when they get to the very end, offer them an opportunity to search and see if their employer will match their gift. Or even just suggest language right there. Hey, can you check with your employer to see if your donation would be doubled? It's a great reminder for them. And then just some additional samples of things that we've created, and feel free to go back to this at any point and read through these a little bit different. But we've created marketing collateral that explains workplace giving. So if we have volunteers that are willing to champion us in their workplace, they can take one of these pieces directly to their HR department to get this started. And it shows information about why workplace giving is really, really respected by employees, why they're interested in supporting causes, and also why they should choose Best Friends to support. We also provide information on matching gifts. Again, super easy, free money. We don't want to leave that on the table. So we provide information to them on how to secure that, or for their HR department and their workplace to start matching gifts if they don't currently do that. We've also created marketing collateral that gives examples of what small amounts of money will do. If you're talking about payroll deductions, sometimes people don't realize that just $5 a paycheck can really go a long way. They think, oh, $5 isn't much money. But $5 a paycheck, if they have 2 pay periods a month and they work for 12 months, can actually add up to be several $100s. That can be very beneficial for our organization. So we went through and assigned dollar values and let them see really what they could help with by participating in that payroll deduction. Or if it's a one-time giving campaign, you can just rephrase these statements to say, you know, a $5 donation can help with X, Y, and Z. We've also even put together corporate group volunteer packets. And when we're talking to companies, we identify all of the different ways that they can volunteer with us, so that when we're looking at monetizing those opportunities, it's very straightforward. And that's pretty much everything for workplace giving, matching gifts, etc. in a nutshell. I realize it's a ton of information I've thrown at you, but it's important to know that there's a lot of money, over $5 billion every year. So you should definitely capitalize it and get this for your organization. Feel free to reach out to me, Candi Maciel. My email's right here on the screen. At any time, if you have questions or you're looking for ways to implement this program in your organization, I would be happy to help. Thank you.